All right, Kamala Harris was on CBS for a sit-down interview, and it did not go well for her. Let's check it out.
You want to expand the child tax credit.
Yes, I do.
You want to give tax breaks to first-time home buyers.
Yes.
And people starting small businesses.
Correct.
But it is estimated by the Nonpartisan Committee for Responsible Federal Budget that your economic plan would add $3 trillion to the federal deficit over the next decade. How are you going to pay for that?
Okay, so the other economists that have reviewed my plan versus my opponent and determined that my economic plan would strengthen America's economy, his would weaken it.
But
my plan, Bill...
Everything resorts back to Trump. Everything is back to Trump for these people.
If you don't mind, my plan is about saying that when you invest in small businesses, you invest in the middle class, and you strengthen America's economy. Small businesses are part of the backbone of America's economy.
But pardon me, Madam Vice President, the question was, how are you going to pay for it?
Well, one of the things is I'm going to make sure that the richest among us who can afford it pay their fair share in taxes. It is not right that teachers and nurses and firefighters are paying a higher tax rate than billionaires and the biggest corporations. And I plan on making that fair.
But we're dealing with the real world here.
But the real world includes...
How are you going to get this through Congress?
All right, before we finish that, she has no clue what she's talking about. She has no clue what she's talking about. She said firefighters, nurses pay a higher tax rate than the millionaires and billionaires. First, they don't pay nearly as many taxes as they do. We'll get into the tax rate in a second, but the top 1% paid nearly 46% of all taxes in the United States. They earn about a little over 26% of all income. The top 5% pay a total of almost 66% of all income taxes in the United States. So, how much more do the top earning people need to pay? They're already giving up a large amount of their income. And you look at the tax bracket, this is from the IRS. Kamala Harris could do this, but she fails to do so. Either she doesn't know this, or she knows it and wants you to believe something that's not true. Now look, she says nurses and firefighters are paying a higher tax rate than the millionaires and billionaires. That is false. Let's say average, you're in this 22 percentile to this 24 percentile for these professions, firefighters and nurses. You're somewhere in that 22%, $44,000, $95,000 a year. And the top rated, you pay 24%, and the top earning people in the country pay 37%. This is after the Trump tax cuts down from 39 to 37, 39.4 to 37. If you're earning $231,000 a year, you're paying 35%. And you see here at 32% if you're making $182,000 or more. So Kamala Harris doesn't know what she's talking about. And I'm tired of these people talking about the rich paying their fair share when they already pay they pay 46%, the top 1% pays 46%. Anyway, let's keep going.
You know, when you talk quietly with a lot of folks in Congress, they know exactly what I'm talking about because their constituents know exactly what I'm talking about. Their constituents are those firefighters and teachers and nurses. Their constituents are middle-class, hardworking folk.
And Congress has shown no inclination to move in your direction.
I disagree with you. There are plenty of leaders in Congress who understand and know that the Trump tax cuts blew up our federal deficit. None of us, and certainly I cannot afford to be myopic in terms of how I
Government revenues also went up because of the tax cuts.
think about strengthening America's economy. Let me tell you something. I am a devout public servant. You know that. I am also a capitalist. And I know the limitations of government.
Kamala Harris has been in government for
decades. That's what he was going to say. She's been in government for decades and hasn't done a gosh dang thing. All right, let's keep going here to the next non-answer she gave?
Let me tell you what your critics and the columnists say.
Okay.
They say that the reason so many voters don't know you is that you have changed your position on so many things. You were against fracking, now you're for it. You supported looser immigration policies, now you're tightening them up. You were for Medicare for all, now you're not. So many that people don't truly know what you believe or what you stand for. And I know you've heard that.
In the last 4 years, I have been Vice President of the United States. And I have been traveling our country. And I have been listening to folks and seeking what is possible in terms of common ground. I believe in building consensus. We are a diverse people, geographically, regionally, in terms of where we are in our backgrounds. And what the American people do want is that we have leaders who can build consensus, where we can figure out compromise and understand it's not a bad thing, as long as you don't compromise your values, to find common sense solutions. And that has been my approach.
Okay, I get I get that, but you were the most liberal senator in Congress, in the Senate, and she's been a radical leftist politician for years. Now, she was on The View. Now, the thing is, she's changing her position. She says she's changing her positions. I mean, like, this guy asked her about changing her positions. She says she wants to find some common ground. I get that. But at the same time, she also said she would not have done anything differently than Joe Biden. Let's check it out.
Well, if anything, would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Well, there you have it. She would not have done anything differently than what Joe Biden has done during his presidency, but now she's trying to act like this gun owner, this gun advocate. She says you'll get shot if you come into her home. She owns a Glock and she shoots it a lot. Now she's acting like she's tough on the border when she's been a border czar. The border czar for, a while now. And we've seen record crossings under Joe Biden. All right, now we're getting to immigration now. Let's check it out.
Recently visited the southern border and embraced President Biden's recent crackdown on asylum seekers. And that crackdown produced an almost immediate and dramatic decrease in the number of border crossings. If that's the right answer now.
But did it though? Are they flying people to these some of these small towns and some of these states around, like these red states and other places?
Why didn't your administration take those steps in 2021?
The first bill we proposed to Congress was to fix our broken immigration system, knowing that if you want to actually fix it, we need Congress to act. It was not taken up. Fast forward to a moment when a bipartisan group of members of the United States Senate, including one of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, got together, came up with a border security bill. Well, guess what happened? Donald Trump got word that this bill was afoot and could be passed, and he wants to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. So he told his buddies in Congress, kill the bill, don't let it move forward.
But I've been covering the border for years. And so I know this is not a
Everything is Trump's fault. Everything is Donald Trump's fault, period.
problem that started with your administration.
Correct.
But there was an historic flood of undocumented immigrants coming across the border the first 3 years of your administration. As a matter of fact, arrivals quadrupled from the last year of President Trump. Was it a mistake to loosen the immigration policies as much as you did?
It's a long-standing problem, and solutions are at hand. And from day one, literally, we have been offering solutions.
What I was asking was it a mistake to kind of allow that flood to happen in the first place?
I think the policies that we have been proposing are about fixing a problem, not promoting a problem. Okay?
But the numbers did quadruple.
And the numbers
under your
today,
watch.
because of what we have done, we have cut the flow of illegal immigration by half.
But should you
we
have
have
done
cut
that?
the
Should you
flow
have
of
done that?
fentanyl by half. But we need Congress to be able to act.
The question was, why didn't you do that sooner? Why didn't you do that sooner when the numbers spiked? Because you can look this up. She can look this up for herself. She has this data. I can look this up myself on the DHS website. You can see the numbers clearly spiked when Trump left office. When you look at 2020, you look up from all the way from 2017, even going way back before that. Even under Obama, the border was not as bad as it is now, or as it has been under Biden collectively. You can see the chart. It just goes, it shoots up. 200,000 crossings a month, 300,000, 150,000 a month. Consistently, throughout the year, it's like 1.72 million people crossing a year, or being apprehended at the border per year. Doesn't include the people who got away. So the question was, why didn't she do this sooner? And she can't answer that. She always wants to, she resorts back to Donald Trump. Trump killed the bill. He killed the bill. He called his buddies. Trump is not in office. Trump is not in office right now. So you can't always resort to that when the numbers clearly show when they quadrupled under your administration. And the guy, whoever this guy is, pointed this out. And he did a great job on here. I think that he did a good job. Somebody finally pressed her on these issues. But this is Ted Cruz on why he voted against the bill. I'm going to read this real quick. U.S. Senator Ted Cruz voted against the Senate funding legislation because it failed to secure the Texas-Mexico border. Regarding his note, Senator Cruz said, "I cannot in good conscience support this bill without real substantial additions to bolster border security. It is important that Israel eradicates Hamas and Taiwan remains resilient against China's threats and that Ukraine defeats Russia. I have consistently supported providing aid to ensure these allies are strong. However, we must defend our nation first. I will vote to support aid to our allies, but only after America's border is secured." That's fair. No state bears the brunt of this burden more heavily than Texas, which is on the front lines of a literal invasion of millions upon millions of illegal aliens. Joe Biden and Democrat officials did this to our country explicitly, and deliberately. They can reverse their disastrous policies right now. They have all the authorities they need. If new legislation absolutely must happen, there is a straightforward and viable option, H.R. 2. This bill, which would have led in the Senate, is the only serious border legislation that has been considered this Congress, and contains real solutions for the border crisis, such as building the wall, tightening asylum standards, reinstating remand in Mexico policy, increasing the number of Border Patrol agents, and more. It already passed the House and should be passed in the Senate. I propose an amendment to incorporate the provisions of H.R. 2 into the aid package. For all these reasons, I was left with no other choice than to oppose this bill. Yeah, so Ted Cruz was very clear as why he did not support this bill. It didn't do enough to secure the border. And there is a standalone bill on the border which they could pass today, that already passed the House. They could pass it, but they're not going to because they don't want to address the problem. So that's why the whole thing about Trump killing that bill is BS, and the blaming him for the problem is BS. When the border was much more secure when Trump left than it is today. Than it has been under Joe Biden's presidency collectively. You get rid of remain in Mexico. You stop building the wall. You reversed 94 policies under Trump that made the border more secure. You reversed 94 of those, and then you have a crisis on your hand. But no, they don't care about this. They don't care about solving the problem. They want to make it look like they're doing something, but they have this app where people can go on and such and things like that. And I've seen videos of them flights being sent into different states in the dead of the night. So, did they really fix the problem, or is it artificially fixed? Because they want more people to. They're even there are even videos of people of illegal aliens saying they're registered to vote. That people have come knock on their doors about voting, getting them to register. I mean, this is happening. So, yeah, I thought I'd share that with you about this CBS interview. But I'm going to leave that right there. Go like and subscribe. Excuse me. See you next time. Thank you. Take care.